In this video, you will learn what is inheritance and how to use inheritance. Inheritance is one of the fundamental attributes of object-oriented programming. It allows you to define a child class that reuses, or in other words, inherits or extends, or modifies the behavior of parent class. The class whose members are inherited is called the base or the superclass. The class that inherits the members of the base class is called the derived class or a child class. So class can only inherit from a single class. However, inheritance is transitive, which allows you to define an inheritance hierarchy for a set of types. In other words, for example, type D can inherit from type C, which inherits from type B, again, which inherits from the base class type A. Because inheritance is transitive, the members of type A are available to type D. Inheritance is used to express an is-a relationship between a base class and one or more child classes, where the child classes are specialized versions of the base class. The derived class is a type of the base class. For example, the enemy class represents any kind of enemy, and the pikeman and archer classes represent specific types of enemies. Now, all this can seem a bit confusing, but it is really easy. You will see through examples. So let's say our game has different enemies. For example, pikeman and archer, they both have some common behavior or data. For example, both have health and weapon, but they can also attack with that weapon. The common behavior goes to the base class or parent class. So let's create our base class for our enemies and call it enemy. The child classes will be pikeman and archer. So let's first remove all code inside the main. And let's remove other classes that we have inside this file. So first is to declare a class enemy. So class enemy, it has a var health, type of integer, and it has a var weapon with type string. And now in this class we will use init to print that init is called. So init block, in init block we will just use println and print enemy init called. And now we will add a function attack. So fun attack, since both our child classes will be able to attack. Println attacking with weapon. Let's use $sign weapon. So we'll print the weapon that the class is using or our enemy is using. To extend class in Kotlin, we use colon. So to be able to extend some class, in Kotlin we need to mark class with open keyword. That makes class open for extending. By default in Kotlin, every class is final and we can't extend it directly. Only open classes can be extended. So we need to create class pikeman first. So now when we create class pikeman, it needs parameter health as int, and it will have armor. So var armor as int. And now we want to extend enemy. We just use colon enemy. To call constructor of enemy, we will pass our health parameter, and parameter for weapon will be pike. And now we have these curly braces to add class body. But we have a compilation error on enemy, and notice the type is final, so it cannot be inherited from. We can't extend enemy unless we mark it as open. So in Kotlin we need to mark class open to be able to extend it. So for calling parent constructor, here we are calling parent constructor enemy, which is also a primary constructor, and our pikeman as well has a primary constructor with parameter health and parameter armor. So pikeman has armor, and let's add init to the pikeman. So init println pikeman init called. So we can see in the console the flow and what gets called first. So now we need archer. So let's create archer class archer. Archer will also have health. We will pass it through constructor, and var arrow count as equal. Again, we are extending enemy and at the same time calling the parent constructor with health and weapon. Notice the pop-up. So the health will be our health parameter and a weapon will be bow. And again, we will just add init block. Inside init block, println archer init called. So to see a class hierarchy of archer, we will use a class hierarchy tab. But first, notice there when we have open class, there is a little icon O, and it is saying is subclassed by archer and pikeman. So when we click on this icon, we can see archer and pikeman are child classes of the enemy class, and we can just click on one of them and our cursor will move to that class. So let's see a class hierarchy for archer. We can just click on archer class and go to navigate, and there is a class hierarchy or a type hierarchy which you can show with Ctrl H. So here you can see that archer has a parent enemy and enemy has a parent object from java.lang package. But in Kotlin, all classes have a common superclass any. That class is called any, and that is default super for a class with no supertypes declared. But let's see a subtypes hierarchy. So archer doesn't have any subtypes, but if we click on enemy, and again we need to go to class hierarchy or press Ctrl H, now you can see that enemy has a child class pikeman and archer. Now let's close this hierarchy, and inside the main method we are going to create pikeman and archer. So val pikeman equals pikeman. In constructor we have to pass health and armor, so health will be 100 and armor will be 100. Pikeman dot attack. So we can call attack method even that this attack method is declared in enemy. Since we are extending enemy with pikeman, we can also inherit, and we are automatically inheriting and having access to all the methods and all the attributes of enemy, including all the properties. Val archer is equal to archer with health 100, and let's say 5 will be the arrow count. And now we can again call archer dot attack. So let's run the code and see in console the flow of our code. So in console first you will see enemy init called. Why is the enemy init called first in console? Well, we are calling the pikeman constructor. So if you control click on the pikeman constructor, you will see that we are extending enemy. And that means we are also calling the enemy constructor. So again, control click on enemy constructor. When this constructor gets executed, init block is executed. So that is why the enemy init is called first. Then the pikeman init is called. And when we are calling attack method, it prints attacking with pike. With the archer, it is the same principle. It prints enemy init called, archer init called, and attacking with bow. So this is inheritance, where we are extending the base class enemy, and you will notice that if we type pikeman dot, we have access to health, armor, and weapon. With archer, we have again access to weapon, health, but we don't have armor because armor is just declared property inside the pikeman. But health and property weapon are shared Actually, they are not shared, they are inherited in both classes. I will see you in the next video.